This is the core curriculum, Remax Elite core curriculum, and it's the very first session of it. There's actually several sessions, and let me just share the screen with you here real quick, and we'll take a look at some of these. So, for example, some of you have seen this, and Module 1's intro for new agents. There's actually 3 sessions to this part. There's Module 2, business planning. We'll get into that. And every one of them is set up so we can work through it. We have sites and technology, we have marketing, your sphere of influence, and your sellers, buyers, and transaction management. This is laid out so that it, at least in my opinion, should flow so that we can work through getting you set up and ready to rock and roll as you work through it. Just as an example, you can see where core curriculum is on the schedule on this calendar. And that's what this is about. So every one of those, and this one, it actually has like module 1.1, which is today, 1.2 is tomorrow, and then 1.3 is on Monday. So there's 3 sessions for this first module, which again, when we talk about the first module, we're talking about nothing more than intro for new license, licensees getting things set up. If you go to module 7, for example, that is on the transaction management part. And if you look at 7 down here on the 25th, we have module 1, 2, and 3. And most of them have more than just one portion of it. So it's like a chapter, if you will, as you're working through that. Anybody have any questions on those? So, all right, so to bring you back to that, if you will, just quickly, one of the things, that we've tried to do with this so the audio is not I had that issue a little bit yesterday, and I messed with it last night. I thought I had fixed it, but
I'm not sure if it's just me, but yeah, you sound robotic.
well, that's just the way I am. Yeah.
I'm getting that too. That's sort of
Okay.
a broken, almost like a bad signal or something.
All right, we have Time Warner Cable or Spectrum, whatever they are. They've been in here working for like the last 3 days in our area, because there's growth going on in this area, and I'm sure that's part of it. They were parked out in front of the house yesterday for quite a while. Not real sure what they're working on, but we're gonna try to make this work. So as we go through this, if something doesn't come out clear, you have a question about it, just jump in and ask. That's okay. So I want to just show you the calendar, and the reason I'm showing you this calendar is for 2 things. One is you can see on here where we have Remax Elite Training, Remax for curriculum. The other thing is on here, this is a calendar that I share with everybody so that we have everybody on the same company training, right? And when we talk about sharing the calendar, if you're not on here or if you don't have access to it, all you have to do is shoot me an email, preferably an email, so I can copy and paste your email address rather than a text. It would work really well. And my email address is in the chat for those of you that did not have it. You shoot me an email and I'll add you on here. There's some people that I've added on here in the past, and for whatever reason they didn't do anything with it. I just added, I think it was 5 people yesterday on here. That gives you access to that calendar that has all the training for the entire year, except for the new agent training. The core curriculum training will be actually spread out throughout as well. The other thing is, we're looking at the schedule. We're going to add some additional things to it. So if you're using that calendar, we'll actually be able to copy it over. Let me just show you how that works real quick. Go back to that. If you have something on there that you're wanting to copy over to yours, you just click on it. And once you get the link, You add that calendar to your calendars. Then you click on the three little dots and you can copy it over to wherever you want it at. So that it becomes a part of yours. I use a variety of calendars so that I can keep up with what's going on in different places, because I also serve on the board. And I have the board schedule, et cetera, on there as well as other things we have going on. All right. Anybody have any questions about the calendar? If you need to be added to the calendar, please send me an email and I'll do that. Wow. How good it sounds like that. Give me just a second. Does that sound any better? Not really.
Sounds okay. It sounds okay.
That sounds better.
Yeah, I
Sounds
think
right.
it got a little bit better, Mac.
Yes.
It sounds okay.
All right. If it starts acting out, because I have different microphones here that I can use in case that's an issue. So that's what I try to do is switch it over. Anyway, let me go back to the calendar and move on with some of this. We're not going to spend any more time on this specific area unless you have questions. At any time, if you have a question, you can shoot me a text or an email. I'll do what I can to answer that. And by the way, WhatsApp is also a great way to reach out, because most places I travel around a lot, and with the Wi-Fi works better sometimes than the cell phones do. Works out great. All right, so to get us started, I showed you the calendar. I went through the slides. I'm going to jump into this, and this is where a really key part of this for you that is fairly new that need to make sure that you have that. And for those of you that have experience, go in and make sure this is updated the way you want it to be. So that starts with Remax.net. Everybody should have an account with Remax.net. You go in to update your profile. So that's on the right-hand side. Everybody can see that okay? Right? It's on the right-hand side. You go to update the profile. When you click on that, it's going to open up where you have to put your information in. And there's some key things in here I want to touch base on with this. One of them, at the very beginning of this is your basic layout, right? And you want all this information up to date. And over the next few days, we're going to talk about different parts of this, but today I'm going to get some highlights for you on this as well. So for those of you that don't have all your information together, like your bio, for example, you might want to work on that and start putting that together. You want one bio primarily that you can share on different sites, although you also want to make that site specific when the time comes. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that section. On here, you also want to make sure that you have any social media sites that you use, have that set up so that you can link those through Remax. You want to show up on everything you do. When we switch over to KV Core, this information is going to carry over. From my understanding, it's going to carry over. So we want to make sure that this is all up to date going into that, right? For those of you with experience, for those of you that's new, get in here and add in everything you have. If there's a social media site that you want to use, all you have to do that's not listed online, for example, all you have to do is go in here and you can scroll down. There's TikTok, which I don't have, or Snapchat. I don't have that on here personally, but if it's something you use, take your URL and plug that in there, right? So that you have that. It'll show up on all things Remax when the time comes. So you want to have that in there. Your phone number, we're going to talk more about phone numbers in a little bit as well, and how important those are. Get your photo taken, professional photo, preferably professional photo. Remember, we're selling real estate. And then your professional details. When you're in here on the Mac Center and you're trying to get this set up, especially for those of you that's new, specialties, when you look at the specialty, you go into add, click on add, you can add that in here. If there's like military, for example, if any of your military, you could add that in, or if you're from a military family and you want to work with militaries, you could add that in. That's, so when somebody goes to search, if they go to remax.com and they go to search for an agent that has a military specialty, or like in my case, relocation or auctions or foreclosures, when they go to search for somebody like that, this is what causes you to pop up. So you want that in there for you. And all you have to do is click on add and set that up. And then you have your office service areas. You cannot mess with that. That's the office areas. The additional areas are real important. Additional areas are real important. You want to make sure that you have those in there, and do not copy what's here down here on the bottom. The reason I say not to is it's not going to help you get found by consumers or through the relocation system by having duplication. So spread it out in your area if you want to, right? The whole idea is to, like, I don't necessarily work South Padre Island as an agent. That was never my focus. However, if somebody contacted me because they wanted to sell a property in South Padre Island, or they want to buy something in South Padre Island, I could refer that out to somebody that's there. And I've done that for years on various sites, and that works on this one as well. So I would use this to maximize your capability in getting exposure. That would be, in my opinion, one of the key factors there. That's underneath professional details. And your personal details, this is where part of your bio is going to be, and other things that you're involved in. If you have any hobbies, make sure you plug those in. Because again, people look for things, look for people like them, kind of, right? They want to see something like that. And so plug that in so that you can work with it. And your bio, again, really, really important that we work on that. Your MLS affiliation that's set up through the system should be already set up. If you've already done everything with the office and your MLS. But this profile is so important to make sure that you have that set up. Everybody good there? Then, of course, when you leave this section, you have your profile overview once again at the very top. So you can look it over, make sure that you have everything in place you want. And then up in the right-hand corner, it says return to Max Center. You just click on that and it'll take you back over where you need to be. Any questions there? And again, we got there strictly by logging into remax.net, and from there we went to the profile in the upper right hand corner right here. Any questions there? Nope. All right, so on the next section of this, I wanted right here on this page, when you log into the Max Center, let's just show you where that's at here. When you log into Max Center, you have apps and tools right here. And if you click on that, what you're looking for is the marketing portal. That's what I want to touch base on next, the marketing portal. And when I do that, what's going to open up is this tab. And the reason I want to go to this tab is a lot of times we have questions about, can I do this or can I do that? Or people will text me, people have texted me or sent me an email and say, does this business card look okay? Or is this sign okay? And all of the information you need is right here. So again, if you go to Max Center, just click on the marketing portal, it'll open up to this so that you have the information you need here that you can work with. There's the presentations even, right? For your PowerPoint presentations, here's your signs and the way they're supposed to be set up. It actually has find an approved supplier on here. So everything you need to make sure that you're in compliance. So we have, make sure you're in compliance with RE/MAX is right here. As agents, we have a combination of things we have to be in line with. Of course, we have NAR's rules. We have Texas Realtors rules. We have the board rules that you belong to. And then you also have RE/MAX rules. And then you have RE/MAX Elite rules, right? Policy and procedures. So that all of that together is what we want to make sure that we stay good and clean with and work off of it. And again, if you go to Max Center marketing portal, it'll take you over there. Logos, everything you need, logos, marketing templates, everything you need is right there. And again, even the PowerPoint presentations that we need to do business. The is in there. As a reference, one of the sites that I go to and have gone to in the past to use for signs is called Build a Sign, buildasign.com. I'm going to grab that link and I'm going to throw it in the chat because it is not a login specific type of site, but buildasign.com is a they're in Austin actually, and they have the Remax store, if you will, for us. They're an approved supplier, and signs are right here. So you go in and order the sign. There's a specific way everything needs to be set up, and they already have that, so we're good to go. I will also tell you, I'll share with you one of the reasons why I love Build a Sign, and I've used them for years, is well, since about 2012, something like that. They're big supporters of the military, and when our son and the guys from Harlingen Reserve Unit came back from Afghanistan, Build a Sign gave us all free banners, big banners, to welcome the Marines back from Afghanistan, and all the parents had free banners, and they all came from Build a Sign. So, which creates part of that. When you're on the sign, just like this sign is set up, you see how you have your associate's name and then you have the office name. All the signs need to have an office name and number on there. That's part of what we do with the office, phone duty, and etc. We want both of those out there. So anytime you go get a custom built, let's say I've got 50 acres for sale and I want to go get a 4x8 piece of plywood painted and set up, I can do it just like this is here. And if you need help with it, reach out to somebody. Here's customized banners right here. I would share with you that one of the things years ago, I listed 19 lots in a subdivision for sale for a builder, a developer. And what I did was I went to Build a Sign. I sent them the subdivision plat and the layout for it, and they actually put that on a banner for me, and I just stapled that onto a 4x8 piece of plywood, put the post up, and went with that. It was a lot easier and cheaper than going to a local office and having them create something for us, graphics or etc. But your office phone number and your number are the most important things on this sign. And please remember, one of the things I left off when we were talking about the rules, we also need to follow TREC rules. So in TREC rules, the brokerage name has to be at least half the size of the largest contact information. And the contact information includes your name, right? So the brokerage name has to be at least half that size. So if your name is in 3-inch letters, Remax Elite has to be at least 1.5 inch at a minimum. That's a TREC requirement. It used to be a safe harbor type deal. It's not anymore. It's now a requirement at least half the size. Anybody have any questions there? All right, so we're talking about your phone number. That's the reason I went on this one, is because we're talking about make sure that we have a good phone number we want to use. And for those of you that's new at this, having a good solid phone number is so important. You do not, in my opinion, want to start real estate business as a salesperson and then 6 months later need to change your phone number. Can you do it, make it work? Yes, you can. But your phone number and your email address are really important. I've had the same phone number the entire time. And I would, well, let me back up. That may not be true. I changed it about 2 years in. I did do that. But the phone number and email address is really important. And we want to make sure that you're set up so that you don't have to be doing that and starting out all over with it, right? So one of the things you can also do, and I would encourage you to check out, is Google Voice. For those of you that's new at this, if you're not familiar with Google Voice, it's a great way to get things set up. Google Voice has a system where you can actually get a phone number through Google that you can use. And I'll show you, I currently do not have one. I've worked with offices where we ran everything in the office off of Google Voice. The problem with that, of course, it's going to be the same problem with just about anything else. If the internet goes out, you're out, right? Because Google Voice is going to be running off of the internet. Here's an example of what you'd see with it. If you have Google Voice, so what happens is you can put the Google Voice number out there, use that for marketing and everything else instead of your specific phone number. And when somebody calls in, it'll actually go to that number, which can be forwarded to your cell number or to somebody else's cell number. If you're growing a team or something like that, you can alternate that number. So the team, for example, could have one phone number, period, and just use it like that. And like I said, I've worked with a Harlingen company where every number we had three phone numbers in the office, and every one of them was a Google Voice number. Two were for office numbers, one was for a fax number back then. If just to give you an idea of what happens with it when it comes in, and this is off an old one, I've had several of them with years, but just give you an example. If a message comes in, instead of leaving a voice message on my phone, which can happen as well, you get the text message. I'm sorry, an email message off of it as well, or a text message that shows that what that was and etc. And then you can also respond that way yourself if that's what you wanted to do, right? So Google Voice does work, and it can certainly be set up to work that way for you really well, and it provides some privacy. And just like you see on the screen right now, the way this is set up, if I had the headset on, an audio system set up, I could actually sit here with the headset on and make phone calls from right here using Google Voice instead of my regular number as well. Any questions on that one? Again, if you have any questions about it, let me know and I'll do what I can to help you with it. One of the other things when we're talking about your phone number and your security and your taking care of things, I would encourage you to go to Google if you're not doing this. On this site, you see Google here, right? And you go over here to the Google Apps, little dots. You have a drop down and you click on the bell. That's Google Alerts. And Google Alerts allows you to set up alerts for you. If you're a new agent, you need to have your name set up, in my opinion, set up with some alerts. What happens is if your name shows up out there anywhere on the internet, you'll get an email telling you about it immediately. And it's fantastic the way it works. I'll show you right here where it says Harlingen breaking news. You see how I have the quotation marks around Harlingen. So not just breaking news, but if it's Harlingen breaking news, I get notified immediately when that happens. And that over the years has been beneficial. In fact, years ago, in Harlingen, several years ago in Harlingen, we had over by the mall, there's a McDonald's over there, and there's a gentleman that was grabbed from the McDonald's, threw in the back of a black SUV, and they took off with him. That came out. I was notified via email immediately. This is going on. So what happens as soon as that hits the internet, that's when you get notified, right? So that it's Google Alerts are really good for you and your security and what's going on in the area. I was notified that happened, so it allowed me to call the family, say, hey, where you at? Make sure you stay away from that side of town. Don't know what's going on, but stay on our side. But you can set them up. You can also set them up with addresses. So if that address shows up for some reason, it'll alert you that way. And I've set some up for repos as well with that. Anybody have any questions about that aspect? Oh, all right. So on here, the next thing we're going to jump into is our email. When we talk about our email, we want to make sure that we have our email set up correctly and that we're doing things the right way. So first off, your email needs to have specific items in it, right? So if I go to Gmail, for example, and I open this up, I've got that right here. Let me just do it right here. So you need to have in your email, you need to have your name, the office you belong to, and the address for that office. That needs to be there in your email. It's a business email, right? Can you have other emails? Absolutely. At one point, I had five different signatures for my email. I used to use Microsoft Outlook, and I had 5 different signatures. I had one for buyers, one for sellers, one for family, that kind of thing, right? So you can have different signatures, but this is the basic information: your name, the company you belong to, and your address and phone number should be on there. as an email and setting that up. Those of you with experience, what might be missing off of this? Anybody? Okay. Everybody's got me on mute. That's okay. That's all right. The what might be missing
Yeah.
is, go ahead.
Let's see, you only had one phone number? Is that what you were, or does that matter if you only have was that the office number or yours?
Yeah, that was my number because it's my email back and forth to the people I'm working with. So, but for our marketing, for our signs, we need to have office and individual. But on your email, you could put both on there, but there's not as far as I'm aware, there's not a requirement to have both on there. What I was getting at was the information about brokerage services. Information about brokerage services. Ruby, thanks, Ruby. And on here, so where I'm at is on texasrealestate.com. texasrealestate.com. If you go in, you click on for realtor members, you go to legal and ethics and click on legal frequently asked questions is where this is at. And it's down underneath agency, and it's down near the bottom, and it shows you an example of what that should look like. So in your email, above your signature, you can have a link to the information about brokerage services, but there's a specific way it's supposed to be set up. So it could say Texas Real Estate Commission information about brokerage services, or it could say TREC information about brokerage services, or you could have it set up something like this. But the idea behind it is if you have a link in there, it has to be above your name and everything. And it is supposed to be a part of the conversation, which is the reason I show you this versus what some people have. Not just the link. It's supposed to be a part of the conversation. Like here it says, please review the link documents before we meet. So if I talk to a buyer on the phone, I talk to the buyer about why they should be represented and why I'd like to be their agent. And I send them there, which covers a little bit of agency, right? I send them the information about brokerage services. I can send it like this. And please review before we meet. I will tell you from my experience, they're probably not going to do that. Unless you mention it to them. So you mention that in the conversation with them that you're going to send that, and there's a form on there that you need them to take a look at. Then when you meet, you have them initial it. You cover it with them one more time and have them initial it. But if you're going to include it in your email, this is one of the ways of doing that. It has to be in here like this, so that it's above your signature and it's a link that goes to a completed information about brokerage services. So how do I get a completed information about brokerage services? You can go into zip form, fill one out, save it in Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever you're using as a PDF, then copy that link and put that in here. And if you need help with that, talk to him. Or one of the office staff can help you with that as well. But we want to make sure that you have it linked up properly. And when I talk about having the 5 different email signatures, like if I talk to a buyer for the first time off a phone duty, for example, I would send them an email with that attached to it. But I didn't send an email out every time with it attached, because if I send you one, I don't need to send you the information about brokerage services, which is why I had all 5 different signatures and etc. And that's why most of you, when you see one from me today, an email from me today, you don't see information about brokerage services on it, because I don't need that to have an email going back and forth with you. All right, everybody good? But it needs to be, it's required to be delivered to the client, buyer, seller, whatever it is, on the first substantive dialogue. And that a lot of times is on the phone. So you have talk about agency, and then you get that to them the best way you can, which in this case might be an email, and then in person to get it signed or initialed. Any questions there?
So not really recommended to have it on every email signature, correct? Just
Right.
as long as first correspondence after it's signed, then that's it.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, thanks. So for example, on here, even on here, I have different signatures, depending on who I'm sending it to. But this is the general one. That's why you don't see a link on there. That's one I use most often, even on Gmail. So you have to set up the different signatures depending on who your server is, or who you have your service with, so that you don't have that issue. Just remember to click on it to change it over when the time comes. One of the other things I'd like to share with you when we're talking about email is NAR has a program set up with, it's called Get.Realtor. For those of you that's new, this is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. It's called Get.Realtor, and that's all you need to do is go Get.Realtor. I'll copy it and throw it in the chat for you, so you have that available. If you're going to use the word realtor, there's trademarks that go with that, right? We want to make sure that we have that correctly. In fact, let me back up here just a second. When we're talking about email, it's real important that we do things the right way. And you notice on the screen here where I have realtors and it has the R at the end of it, or the Greater McAllen Association of Realtors, or here we have realtor and we have the R there. That's anytime you type the word realtor, it's supposed to be caps. It's a trademark, and it's supposed to have the trademark designation there to go with that, to make sure that we have it correctly. And that is something there's some agents that we have that don't have that correct, and we need to work on fixing that, which we are. All right, on Get.Realtor, if you go in here, you do this. First off, the reason I would encourage it is when you go to set this up, when you first go to set it up, they have, if you go to Realtor, you put your name in here. It has to be your name because it's going to go by what NAR has for you, right? And the first year, it's free. First year, it's absolutely free. And then after that, it's $39 a year. So as an individual, so you could have your name, like I played with this when it first came out. I had Mac.McFarland. I had MacMcFarland.Realtor. MacMcFarland.Realtor was set up, and then when my year was over with, I let it go because of the fact that I have HD McFarland on there already. But you could set this up, and it lets people know that you're a realtor right from the very get-go. The other thing is today, if you do this, you also get a professional website. You also get a professional website with them, and it has everything from lead generation to your social networks and etc. So it's a real good source for getting that set up. All right. And if you don't like or don't want to use your name and realtor because it's restricted, right? So it has to be your name that NAR has. If you don't want to use that, you can use whatever you want .real estate. So I could have, if I click on real estate, I could plug in whatever. Something like that. And see if that's available. So I could have Max sells Harlan June.real estate for $69 a year, which is pretty good compared to what you might find on GoDaddy or other sites. And then I can make that my website as well. And it's a part, you get the website with the purchase of that domain name. Again, this was put out by NAR. They've had it for several years. They've been using it. Some people use it, some don't. I just want to make sure, since some of you are probably new, that's there for you. And you need to have a website. You need to have your own domain name. You have something you can work with. Anybody have any questions on that one? Okay. And so the other area I wanted to go to is when we talk about Remax and what they call the Max Center, right? So you go to remax.net and you have the apps and tools. We have the learning and education in here. And on the learning and education, we want to make sure that we actually get into here, get that profile set up, like we were talking about at the beginning, get your profile set up. That's real important. Get that set up. That's the first thing. That should be the very first thing you do, is get that set up. And then as you're working through this, there's courses in here that you can take as a new agent, and several of them are free for you to take. One of them is Remax Agent 101. Remax 101 is designed to give you an overview of what real estate is about with Remax. And they highlight the tools and the support that you have available through Remax. We're not talking about Remax Lead. We're talking about what Remax has and why that brand works the way it does. It's very good. Doesn't cost you anything to take it, so it'd be worthwhile to take. It's only about 30 minutes here to take that. And these are some of the items that they cover. So it's going to cover the technology and the things you need, education, how it works, etc. So to get there, once again, you log into remax.net, go to learning and education. And one of the easiest ways to do this is up here in the search. All you have to do is type in Remax 101 or just type in 101, and it should, it'll bring up that course for you, or the courses that fall underneath the 101. So there's the Remax Agent 101, and that's what we're wanting. It's liftoff starts now. That's to get us started. They also have team training, team leader training. They have a lot of training in here that you can do. The majority of this is free. It's about the programs that Remax has available for us. And that all starts with Remax University. Anybody have any questions on that? I would encourage you to take that course. I've gone through some of these 3 times just to get an idea, get a good feel of what they have and why they do what they do. And there's also courses in here that you can pay for if you wanted to, that might specialize, like Brian Buffini has some things in there. Jared James has some things in there. There's things that you can take through Remax to make it worthwhile. You can also do designation courses through them. But you need to look when that comes to play. If you take a designation course through Remax, you may get the designation, right? Or you will, right? You'll get the hours for the designation. So you'll get the designation, but you may not get hours for credit in the state of Texas. So you always have to look at that. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I've taken, in fact, last year I took a couple classes through Remax. One was the MRP. I teach the MRP class, military relocation. I teach that. But Rich Sands was teaching it. It was through Remax. I paid for it, took it again just to see how he taught it and how Remax ran it, just so I'd be more familiar with it. That class in itself is a real good class in working with military and how they handle things today. Anybody have any questions there? All right, so again, looking at the new agent side of this, a couple little things I'd like to share with you that are not necessarily branded toward Remax, but I think you need to be aware of, is your security online. You will hear me say from time to time, just little things with security are really, really important. One of the courses I teach for NAR is on internet security. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is, and you can do your own thing. I just want to make sure that you know that it's there and why some people use it, and how it's used, why it's important. One of the things I use personally, and I'll just show you what it looks like here. Let me see if I can move this over here. Can't. Just a second. There you go. All right, so one of the things I use personally is I use a Malwarebytes. I have that set up for security on my system. I use it on my laptops. I use it on the home computer. It's a security system. But what I'm showing you is right here, it has VPN server location. So you should, as an agent, you should have a VPN. It doesn't matter where you get it. Xander Insurance offers some. Malwarebytes, I've used it for years. They have them. There's others out there. I know Matthew may know of some others on the tech side. If you have questions, talk to a tech person about them. But a VPN is a virtual private network. Virtual private network. And a lot of times we're in a hurry and we don't think about what we're doing. We need to get something taken care of. We jump online real quick, and it opens you up to possible issues, and then possibly the company up to issues. Internet hacking, technology hacking is real. There was an article in yesterday's newspaper. It was yesterday's newspaper. San Benito School District right here in the Valley was hacked, and 25 to 30,000 employees and students' personal information was stolen, to include banking information for the employees. Not good, right? And we don't want to be a part of that. So a virtual private network allows you to help cover some of that up and running security on your system. And I know some of you out there have those Apple products, the Mac products, and et cetera. And I've, as one of the agents in Mission told me several years ago, if you have that, you don't have to worry about getting hacked. And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. If you have that, you're less likely to be hacked. But hackers know that's where the majority of the people are. That's where they're going to go. So you want to please make sure that you're keeping everything secure so that we don't have any issues with it. Now, I also run some other things on my system, but Malwarebytes is one of the best ones. It runs in the background all the time, and it will stop. It gives me a monthly report on websites that it's prevented from opening or tracking, and other things to eliminate any possible issues. And it's so easy. And the reason I share this with you, and the reason I think it's so important, is because it's so easy to accidentally click on something. And if you haven't done it in this business, you will, where you get something from somebody you think is real, and you click on it and it's not. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Several years ago, my wife clicked on something. I have no idea what it was. Laptop is blank. There's nothing on the screen whatsoever, but there's voices coming out of it. Not funny, but please set your security accordingly. Keep in mind, our job is to protect our consumers that we're working with, customers and clients. And that's a part of it, big part of it. All right, any questions about anything that we've covered?